Friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition of our video channel. And this is the executive producer out for the count. Had a very long day, chasing everything you can imagine, mostly birds. And she's here pretending she's working. So we'll be back to the show. And again, this is a missing person edition. Thank you for hanging out and being with us. I will tell you about the show today. It involves just one case, one person. It's a doozy. It is a doozy. First, a little bit about Montana up here. It's getting down into the high 20s at night. And during the day, hit about 60. Beautiful day, beautiful. And of course it's nice because there's nobody up here. And you can drive around, get into your good restaurants, you go out and go fishing, you don't see anybody. Hoorah! So we're stoked. And I need to remind you that the weekend before Thanksgiving, I'm going to be in Washington at Ocean Shores, Washington, for one of the biggest Bigfoot events and one of the best of all time. Be me, Jeff Meldrum, and others. It's just a pristine location. It's an Indian casino. It's a nice one. Right on the beach. There's clamming out there. You can walk this long, flat, beautiful beach. I've been there many times. It's probably one of Angie's of my favorite places to go to. And it's about a 2.5 hour drive from Seattle. Very close. Beautiful place. So I hope to see you there. It's the last event of the year. And I got to say, one of my favorite. So we'll have some fun. And I will be talking about Bigfoot. Yes. And of course, my new Bigfoot book, Bigfoot, Wild Man and Giants, 541 pages. It is huge. It is just articles on a Bigfoot, wild man, everything you know, you think you know about Bigfoot, articles from 1680 to 1925. That's the book you want on your table. And if you want to follow our work, the website to get the book is NA, like North America, NABigfootsearch.com. Missing person site is CanAmMissingProject.com, CanAmMissing.com. And make sure you're subscribed right here to the channel. 600 plus videos right here. I post every other day. A couple of things you guys complained about. Some people say you can't give me a thumbs up. There's no place to ring the bell. Yeah, that is a problem. Other people say, I'm subscribed, but then I never get notified if you're in movies. Other people say, I was subscribed, but they unsubscribed me. Those are all the things that YouTube is doing to destroy this channel. And they're trying hard. All these different things working against me. No doubt. People say, oh, it's not really you. Yeah. No, because you see, I have a partner in this business. I don't know him. You have to have a partner to be on YouTube like this, to get the crowds. And my partner is my intermediary between myself and YouTube. And I laid out all of the things that are happening to this channel. YouTube came back and told my partner they know they're trying to fix it. Nah. I'm sorry. I may look dumb, but I'm not stupid. All right. Now, this story is not in this book. Missing 411 Washington is my latest Missing 411 book. But this story, even though it's in Washington, it isn't in this book. Something we found recently through our research. It involves a man named Ken Chandler. Ken was 61 years old, went missing February 6, 1998. He was married to Jerry Chandler, and they had a son named Ron, older. Best I could tell, he was in his late teens, early 20s. And anyhow, Ken was a retired crane operator for Weyerhaeuser Corporation. Weyerhaeuser owns a lot of land in Washington. They do timber cutting. And he was a crane operator, a 31-year crane operator. How many people work 31 years in any job these days? That's amazing. Well, in October 97, Ken retired. He had planned his retirement. And then the next month, November, he had an aneurysm that took him down, and he was in the hospital and rehab for quite a while. Aneurysm, kind of like a stroke. Sometimes you never recover from those things. And how sad. He spends 31 years working for a company, he retires, and then has an aneurysm. I thought about that. That poor guy. Well, he was in the hospital and rehab for a long time. And he had an operation, too, to fix the aneurysm. So he was home. He was recuperating. February 6th, the weather conditions were windy, wet, and cold at their home. It was 39 degrees. Jerry and Ken often took a walk from their home down the driveway and the driveway ended at the end of their court. It's a good long driveway. And then they'd walk back. And it was to build Ken's stamina to get him better. Let me explain where this is. So here's Kelso, Washington. Kelso is where I got my death threats one year, and they didn't ever want me to come back, so I never went back. So Ken lived right here near Bunker Hill, about 10 miles west of Longview, and this is the Columbia River. And he lived about a half a mile from the river, not that far. But he lived in a very remote area. So the river would be down here. His home would be at the end of this court. Cameron Creek is right here. His house was right at the end of the court, right near the beginnings of the creek. Can I see that? Okay. This was the last picture of Ken. So Jerry and Ken take their walk back up to their home. They get in the door and it's about 3:30 p.m. Ken walks to his favorite recliner, sits down, relaxes, and Jerry walks into the kitchen to start dinner. She figures Ken's going to sit in the living room, watch some TV, normal. So several minutes later, she comes back, and the front door is just slightly ajar, and Ken's gone. Well, she thinks, well, maybe he just walked outside for a second, because she knows he can't go far because he has no stamina, and he just got done with a long walk, so now he's really tired. So she goes out and starts searching around. She explains that when Ken was healthy, he was a seasoned outdoorsman that lived for the outdoors and hunting. He knew the area around his house like you know your own little backyard. That's how well he knew it. Now the residence. It's 243 Colby Road in Longview. You can look it up. Now it's 10 miles west of the city. It still has a Longview address. And the home sits 2,500 feet from the Columbia River, and it backs up to about 40 miles of wilderness. Very few roads back there, very few people, and that's why you love living there. And I'm reading about this, and I'm thinking, that's where I want to be too. I mean, wildlife walking through your yard, go up into the hills, do your own hunting. Sounds heavenly. So Jerry and his son now are looking for him, calling his name, running all around, yelling his name, not getting a response, which they said was odd. They can't believe they're not finding him because Where can he go? At 5 p.m., the family calls the Paulides County Sheriff's Office and reports Ken is missing. Totally normal. I get it. Well, Ron was interviewed and said when his dad was fresh, he could walk 500 yards, 1,500 feet. But he wasn't fresh. That was the whole thing. When the deputies got there, they started to search immediately. They knew that they had a person with a medical condition. It was cold outside. They know Ken didn't have a coat on. They do an initial search, they don't find anything. So they call for more assistance, they get it. And then the one deputy completes a profile for him. So he knew the area well. He had a medical condition. He couldn't walk that far. But he knew that area well. So how do you reconcile where he could be? Well, the sheriffs that first night concentrated on a 1-mile radius from the home. Additional resources were requested and they were obtained. And the sheriff's office, many of them, used searchlights and flashlights through the night, calling his name, turning on the siren so he'd know where to go. And they searched until very early in the next morning. And then the search was called off. The primary deputy on scene made a call for a complete search and rescue call out the next morning. So mechanisms were in place for a turnout the next morning, February 7th, 6 a.m. The U.S. Coast Guard has a helicopter in Astoria and flew to the area where Ken disappeared. The helicopter has FLIR, forward-looking infrared, and it looks for heat signatures on the ground. And the first thing they did is they put that helicopter over the scene and they flew a grid pattern with it, trying to find out if they could see where the body or where Ken is moving. They got nothing. And then at 10 a.m., helicopter finished. Then they have a fresh scene and they put in 2 of their best dogs covering the area. They got a scent from Ken's home and they put the dogs on it. After several hours, they had 20 ground searchers from Pierce and Grays County, and they decided to break the area up into a grid pattern and start looking for the 61-year-old man. Searchers worked till dark, found nothing. So now what do you have? Canines failed, FLIR fails, observational search from above fails, ground searchers fail, and in the meantime, Ron's son, who knows the area like his dad, is just searching still everywhere looking for his dad. Can't find him. The family's in disarray. Imagine trying to sleep in that house in the nights that your husband isn't there and he's medically compromised, doesn't have a lot to wear, and it's freezing outside. Yeah. That's a rough way to live. February 8th, Ron Chandler, the son, had searched almost nonstop since his dad disappeared, was exhausted. Searched through most of the nights with a flashlight. Cowlitz County had boats come in and search the Columbia River. They had 150 searchers from 6 counties participating that day with rescue teams from multiple counties. So they have this big map, and they break the map into quadrants, and each search team goes at that quadrant. And after a search team thinks that they've exhausted, they flip. Put another search team into the same area, and another search team searching the area of the previous team. Having multiple teams search an area is really important because, as you know, People are found in areas that are previously searched. So they do that throughout the day. February 9th, 300 searchers are on scene. And they've got professional trackers in there. And they're looking for scraps of clothing, partial shoe prints. Dogs still don't have a scent trail. They're being frustrated. In the meantime, detectives from the sheriff's office are interviewing the neighbors. They're interviewing the neighbors about how well do you know Ken? When you see him out, what's he like? What's a relationship like with the family? I know those seem like stupid questions, but just in the off chance something happened and the family did something. Those are the kind of questions you have to ask as a deputy in these conditions. And of course, everything turned out that he was from a loving family. They cared about him. Well, they're even more perplexed. Because how could somebody get away that quickly and not hear somebody calling for him, like his wife? He steps out the door. She's there minutes later, calling his name. He's not answering. Well, what is that? And then the other question I always had about this. It's his house. Why wouldn't he close the door? I mean, it was cold outside. You don't want the cold getting in the house, especially if you're old. Not that 61's old, I'm just saying. So finding the door slightly ajar always bothered me a bit. Just saying. So they interview every neighbor within 3 miles. They didn't come up with anything interesting. Nobody saw him that day. Nobody saw any unusual cars. Nobody saw anything unusual, period. February 10th through the 11th, there was a massive ground effort. 250 to 400 people per day. They're almost stumbling over each other in this area. Search keeps going out and out. That first night they stayed within a mile. They kept moving out, researching the area. Keep coming back to that mile and a half area. February 13th, Ron Chandler was interviewed by the press. Press always wants to get a statement from family. It's usually a tear-jerking statement. Well, this is what Ron said. He says, like someone beamed him off the face of the earth. It's like someone beamed him off the face of the earth. That's what he said about what happened to his dad. He also said that nobody believes he could travel a long distance. And he said, well, maybe he was picked up by a car and transported away. But the deputies really discounted that, and I would have too, because remember, he lives, I don't know if you can see it, but very lightly you can see the roadways in here. Very lightly. He lived at the end of a road. To get to this, you have to be going there for a destination in mind. You just don't drive out here. So if he would have walked even down this or that road, there aren't that many homes in this area to attract a lot of attention or to get people just casually driving up here. I think in the back of the deputies' minds, they're also thinking, half a mile away is the huge Columbia River, which is why they were still searching. But they still had this conundrum that Ken couldn't walk far. So if I was a deputy and Ron made that statement, and if you followed me for a while, you've heard that statement before, or something very similar to it several times before. I appreciate Ron's honesty and his openness to say what he exactly thought. That same night, Sheriff's Deputy Corey Huffine said something very, very specific. He said the searchers are very confident that Mr. Chandler is not in the area. Bingo. He's not in the area. Where is he? If a car didn't transport him out of the area, how did he get out of the area? He didn't walk. No, he didn't walk. The press went back to Ron, the son. And Ron said that prior to the aneurysm, his dad rode motorcycles, he was a competitive archer, and his whole life was the woods, which really took it completely off the grid, any possibility that he's lost. No way he's lost. Then the family clarified that he was taking blood thinners and anti-seizure meds, but nothing to alter his thought, his ability to think. Everybody said he was thinking clearly, he was fine. That didn't play into this. March 3rd. Well, February 16th. The sheriff terminates the search. No place left to search. Sat down with the family, explained, this is the map we used, this is where we searched. What did we miss? You tell me. This is how search and rescue goes. You sit down with the family and you explain. If I missed anything, we'll go out and search it. But did I search everything? What else did we miss? Tell me. Family usually says, no, you did everything you can. It's pretty obvious my husband isn't in the area. That's what the common statement would be. So fast forward almost a half a month, March 3rd. Ken was supposedly seen in Aberdeen. Aberdeen? How did he get there? Well, police officers in Aberdeen get 3 reports of seeing him near the Gospel Mission. And the Gospel Mission was a place where people could hang out, homeless, get some food. So that would kind of make sense. But then the kicker came when 2 Aberdeen police officers said that they saw him. Well, I'm telling you right now, folks, police officers say they saw him, I'm taking that seriously. Now, he was bald. He had a big mustache. Some people said he looked like Dennis Weaver. Some of the articles I read said some people thought that. He had a face that was on many posters throughout the area. So when people said they saw him, there's some believability that maybe somebody did. So Aberdeen police were looking for him. Couldn't find him. So March 5th, the Cowlitz County detective assigned to this case, detective named Ron Broyles, gets a hold of Aberdeen and some supervisors there and says, hey, I need you to track down Ken. If he's there, go find him, please. So they make a big push that day, and they find the individual that looked like Ken. It wasn't Ken, but it looked like Ken. And I can just imagine how the family felt, because there's a chance that maybe my husband was alive. That wasn't him. September 12th through the 13th, weekend, Cowlitz County decides to bring in the best cadaver dogs in that part of the state for 2 days of intensive searching. So they search 10, 12-hour days. Cadaver dogs work off a very small scent. And that very small scent can travel miles. Even if there's no wind, they can pick up a smell for miles. And cadaver dogs are different than scent trail dogs. Different type altogether. They just smell, they're looking for that smell of death. And that could be months and months and months after somebody disappears. The family and the detectives thought for sure they'd find Ken with this search team. They got nothing. Nobody could believe it. So again, this was Ken. He disappeared on February 6th, 98. Same year, November 7th. Hunting season. Ken would have been out hunting. Well, Hunter is near Cameron Creek. Remember where I showed you that? Cameron Creek, right near his residence? And this hunter's walking along a mile north of the Chandler residence, and they come across skeletal remains, clothed, and they go call the sheriff. Well, there's only one person missing anywhere in that area. It's Ken. Deputies respond, and they make a positive ID without even anything else, because it's the exact clothing he was wearing. He had other things in his pockets that ID'd him. Now here's the thing, I want you to really sit down. Here's the residence. There's Cameron Creek. 1 mile. The primary search zone. Please tell me, folks, how that was missed. Please, I'm listening. You tell me. All of those resources, how was it missed? If you're new to the show, I am not indicting search and rescue at all. Why? Because I know this happens way too many times. How could the original canines that were trying to pick up a scent trail miss them? Number one. But better than all of that, September 12th and the 13th, just a month and a half before the hunter found him, how did those cadaver dogs miss him? Because they walked all over that area. There's no way this could have happened. I don't care who you are. Now, don't look for me for answers about how this could have occurred. I'm just telling you that all those resources would not have failed. But I go back to what, that was Huck yawning. Dad, don't forget me. Yeah, I won't forget you, girl. But remember what Ron the son said. It's like someone beamed him off the face of the earth. Let that ring between your ears. Profile points. Coroner couldn't determine a cause of death. He was found in the primary search zone. Ken had medical issues. He was found next to a creek. 2 sets of canines missed him. Professional trackers missed him. And he was in an area that was previously searched over and over and over. I know if you're new to the show, you probably think I'm making something out of nothing, but if you've been around a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I feel sorry for the Chandler family. And you know what? I have a lot of respect for Ron, his son, who gave forth a valiant effort to find his dad. You're a good man, Ron. In the meantime, make sure you are subscribed. I greatly appreciate you being here. Please share this video. I really need you to share it so we can grow, tell more people about what's going on out there. In the meantime, go to the store, go to the post office. You see those people that help you? Be kind to them. Smile. I've heard some great stories lately about you guys doing some really nice things. Yeah, hired help. Sometimes we ignore them, we take them for granted, but we need them, and they are appreciated. Thanks for being here. Paulides out. Maybe I can show you a picture of Huck here. There she is. Huck, you want to say hi to the crowd? Yeah. Good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. Oh, yeah, you're a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. That's a good girl. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that, Dad. That's a good one. Paulides out.